Get comments from people being like, oh, I introduced my grandchildren to your show, like I found you through Daily Wire. My mom is like my biggest fan on YouTube, definitely took this survey.
I feel like it was like that for a lot of us. It's easier for me than it was for Tom because I wasn't playing a character that had already existed in the previous films.
Has the struggle for Snow White altered Hollywood's rules? You've already seen the backlash to Disney's latest live-action adaptation, but no one anticipated to see two distinct women from entirely different backgrounds competing for a single fairy tale princess. On one side, you have Rachel Zegler, formerly Disney's rising star, who publicly dismissed the 1937 animated feature as scary and out of date. On the other side, you have Brett Cooper, a novice to mainstream Hollywood who is adopting a faithful approach that is causing waves on social media. Is the Disney brand on the verge of a catastrophic blunder, or is this simply the start of a new age for fairy tales? Disney's live-action Snow White was thought to be a safe bet. After all, the original animated masterpiece from 1937 gave birth to the whole Disney princess universe. This is the film that Walt Disney himself called the perfect narrative, a fairy tale so famous that it permanently changed the way animation was done. So when it was announced that a top-tier filmmaker such as Greta Gerwig would be involved in this adaptation, supporters prepared themselves for something unprecedented. Lady Bird, a coming-of-age picture praised for its strong female heroine and complex narrative, established Gerwig into a household figure. She continued her winning trend with Little Women and Barbie, both of which were huge successes at the box office. That's why many people were surprised when the new Snow White upgrade leaked. Rachel Zegler, widely known for her breakout performance in West Side Story, has publicly stated that she dislikes Disney's first princess.
It's like Jacqueline, if they play Getaway Car or Maroon, she's on crisis watch. Not only did she play Getaway Car, she also played Maroon. I was having a mental breakdown in the audience at MetLife Stadium.
Zegler admitted to watching the 1937 Snow White only once, describing it as outdated, a comment that quickly polarized fans. To some, her statements felt like a personal attack on a cherished childhood classic, while others saw it as an opportunity to modernize a character who spent much of the original story asleep. However, each new comment deepened the divide, leaving many wondering if Disney was risking the integrity of a beloved tale. Greta Gerwig, celebrated for her wit, emotional depth, and knack for timeless themes, initially seemed like the perfect choice to revamp Snow White following her massive success with Barbie. But as details about the production surfaced, questions arose about how much creative freedom she actually had. Did her vision get diluted by Disney's corporate machinery, prioritizing wokeness or trends over storytelling? Zegler's interviews did little to assuage concerns. Her repeated insistence that the new Snow White would reject themes of true love and redemption by a prince only fueled public skepticism. Many began to view Gerwig's involvement less as a guarantee of quality and more as a strategic move by Disney to legitimize sweeping changes. Fans are now left wondering whether this film is a bold reimagining or simply a misstep in the modernization of a fairy tale that has captivated audiences for generations.
I did. It was so fun. Oh my god, as a huge Disney fan, it was so exciting to finally get to go to D23. Yeah. I live on the East Coast, so I was never able to go, and also tickets sell out like in a flash. So it was so exciting to go, and my mom was super jealous because my mom is the reason I'm a Disney fan.
How can Gerwig's name, long associated with serious writing, be linked to something so divisive? Brett Cooper, another Snow White, emerged unexpectedly in the midst of the Disney drama. She's best known as a YouTube broadcaster with a talent for analysis and quick thoughts on cultural topics. She could be the polar antithesis of a Hollywood superstar like Rachel Zegler, but here she is, starring in a rival version dubbed Snow White and the Evil Queen, created by the Daily Wire's burgeoning entertainment section. Cooper's interpretation of Snow White could not be more different. Rather than reinventing the tale, she is doubling down on what fans remember: romance, innocence, and a firm belief in happily ever after. Even more shocking is the ongoing debate surrounding her resignation from the Daily Wire. Insiders suggest the firm is in deep financial problems, as well as strange behavior from CEO Jeremy Boring, who may be bugging the workplace to solve behind-the-scenes issues. Why cast Cooper if the organization is in financial difficulties? Some argue that capitalizing on Disney's perceived errors was a worthwhile risk. The time could hardly be more appropriate. While Disney works to contain the fallout from Zegler's statements, the Daily Wire sets the setting for a fairy tale that purports to return to its traditional roots. Despite the rumors of antagonism surrounding her departure, Cooper continues undeterred, touting her picture as a true rendition that Walt would recognize. With two rival Snow White films in the works, fans are engaged in a larger cultural tug-of-war. On one side, Disney's high-budget machine is moving towards modernization.
Not designed right now to necessarily develop great leaders or to encourage more people to seek public office. It just is far more difficult. Now, I've never been in it, but from what I observe, it's far more difficult to run for office today than ever before.
Less romance, more girl boss energy, and obvious attempts to modernize the original plot. The Daily Wire, on the other hand, is betting on nostalgia, assuming that people still prefer the comfort of an untouched fairy tale. This difference extends beyond movie choices. It expresses deeper feelings about Hollywood's approach to reworking stories we grew up with. Are we witnessing much-needed change that will ultimately give Snow White agency? Or is Hollywood abandoning what has made these stories so compelling for so long? Compassion, love, and an unfiltered view of the world? Social media is rife with controversy. Hashtags praising Brett Cooper's true princess aura are trending, with threads labeling her a conduit for regressive narrative. Meanwhile, Zegler is bombarded with criticism from admirers who accuse her of arrogance, alleging she ruined the character's ageless appeal. There isn't any intermediate ground. Either you think the 1937 picture is sexist and out of date, or you appreciate its innocence. And both sides want to say they are correct. Rachel Zegler probably never anticipated she'd be the face of a global backlash over a legendary cartoon princess. Early in her career, she was praised for her vocal range and emotional depth in West Side Story. However, as the new Snow White, she has endured a public relations nightmare. People saw her statements about how the original is 1937 and terribly old as insulting to a cherished picture. She then made some remarks about the prince. Zegler maintained that Snow White would not be saved by the prince.
I feel like it was like that for a lot of us. It's easier for me than it was for Tom because I wasn't playing a character that had already existed in the previous films. And those performances are so wonderful that you don't want to try to recreate anything because there's the fear of failing miserably. But also, it's 64 years before the original films take place, the original books. And Francis Lawrence, who directed Catching Fire and both Mockingjay films, and Nina, who produced all of the Hunger Games content, they didn't put any pressure on us to try to recreate anything.
She emphasizes how out of date such romantic stereotypes are. That approach came as a welcome relief to several viewers. Finally, a princess who doesn't merely wait for love, but for others. It seemed like a needless dunk on a narrative that had been passed down for over a century. To add to the criticism, Zegler appeared defensive in interviews, rolling her eyes at people who like conventional fairy tales. Meanwhile, Brett Cooper's reputation grew, with her portrayal portrayed as a nostalgic return to the story's romantic purity. Zegler's nervous barbs at Cooper's rendition, accusing it of being out of date, highlighted how much the audience values a traditional recounting. The more Zegler fought back, the more she contributed to the idea that she was alienating people rather than winning them over. Brett Cooper was savoring the great buzz about her loyal Snow White when hints of problems at the Daily Wire surfaced. From rumored financial difficulties to rumors that CEO Jeremy Boring is furiously bugging the office, the drama surrounding the project is as convoluted as any Hollywood disaster. Critics worry that Cooper's potential for success may be overshadowed by this turbulence. Surprisingly, the instability at the Daily Wire has only heightened the focus on Cooper's Snow White and the Evil Queen. Fans are eager to see if this little but loud media organization can offer a big-budget fairy tale to rival Disney. If the Daily Wire's funds are genuinely strained, how can they afford a fully composed musical adaptation with expensive sets and costumes? According to some sources, the Daily Wire sees Snow White as a cultural capital investment, stepping in when Disney may be losing followers.
My advice to them was to not hear the noise as much, to continue doing the job that we've entrusted them to do,
right?
Which is to tell the truth, to state the facts, to present the news in an accurate and a fair and in a timely basis.
Cooper's faithful take on Walt's vision could rally fans tired of reboots that stray too far from the source material. Meanwhile, Zegler's Disney Snow White offers modern sensibilities with Greta Gerwig's direction and Disney's marketing power, though fan backlash over Zegler's critiques of the original looms large.
Best friend, and she's the one who sent me the casting notice and said, "Thank me when you're famous." It's the craziest thing ever that it came true in that weird way, and that's why I bring her everywhere, and she's the best ever. But yeah, I put myself on tape. It's the worst tape you've ever seen in your life. I have no idea how I got the part still, and it's being used to teach future casting directors at NYU.
In contrast, Cooper's Snow White and the Evil Queen embraces old-school Disney charm, celebrating love, innocence, and optimism in a way that honors the 1937 classic. This isn't just two actresses vying for the same role. It's a cultural clash. Will audiences embrace Zegler's bold reimagining or grow weary of updated childhood classics? The stakes couldn't be higher for Disney, The Daily Wire, and the future of family entertainment.